Now listen, Newcastle United pitched up at the San Siro last night. It ended goalless. And at the end of it, Eddie Howe wasn't having anything about, oh, you were lucky. Not a chance.
Everyone's entitled to their opinion. I didn't think the draw was luck today on our part. I thought we're slightly disappointed with how we played with the ball tonight, but I think there are loads of different reasons for that. But I thought the way we defended was commendable. You know, look how many block shots, how many times we threw ourselves in front of the ball. We were determined to defend our goal. Yes, our goalkeeper played well, but it was a really good defensive display. Very hostile atmosphere, very difficult place to come. Can't underestimate the power of that draw today.
Was it a point, Danny, of defiance or a point of struggle?
A bit of both. I mean, he's right. They earned their look. They defended manfully. There was some brilliant blocking. There was some togetherness, some resilience, digging deep to stay in the game at times. But you need a bit of luck away from home in the Champions League because they missed a couple of really good chances, especially the header second half. That was a really good chance. So you do have to have a bit of fortune when you go away in Europe, whoever you're playing against. I think they will have learned a hell of a lot, those players who've not played Champions League before. I think 6 of them, or 5 of them, sorry. 6 of them.
Yeah, it's quite a baptism.
It is a baptism, and I've been there when you play your first Champions League game away. I think my first away one was Dortmund. And it is a bit like, whoa, you're used to seeing it on the telly and now you're here. The one thing I was surprised about, and he talked about this and he got asked about it, I think yesterday or the morning of the game or the day before, they didn't take advantage of going to the stadium and training there before. And he said it's only a pitch, were his words.
Yeah, what did you think of that?
Well, I talked about it Monday night on talkSPORT on the show when I was at the game at the City Ground, and I completely disagree with him. And this is probably, it doesn't mean he's a bad manager, but his belief in that means he hasn't been in those situations as a player. And I can tell you hand on heart that going to the stadium before and having a training session there to feel your surroundings and get comfortable with the pitch and just picture yourself in these scios,
yes,
it helps 99% of players. Now, there's a big difference if you're turning up there and you're Man City and every one of those players has played 30 to 50 to 100 Champions League games, played there before, neither here nor there.
Right.
But when you're in the infancy of a Champions League journey with 6 players who haven't played in the Champions League before, get there a day or two before, take the opportunity of training on the pitch, let them feel the surroundings, let them get comfortable with the different kind of... Also, the humidity is always a bit different abroad. It doesn't matter what time of year. It can be winter when you're in Russia or Ukraine back in the day. It can be really hot when you're in Turkey playing there in September. These things matter. And you can laugh and take the mickey, but...
I'm with Danny totally on that.
Well, it's
I
funny,
would have thought you want to go in there.
I think just little wins,
the Man City example is an interesting thing because until they won it, we were constantly told for years and years and years that Man City had no experience in the Champions League. Hence the reason why they weren't winning it. But all their leading players had played around the world in every Champions League winning side, so it was a ridiculous analysis. But of course, it's going to be a challenge for Newcastle because it's a whole different landscape. I would suggest that going to AC Milan and getting a 0-0 draw is job done.
Absolutely.
End of discussion. Doesn't matter how you got to that point. There's lots of experience to be gained from it. Newcastle will play in front of a fervent group of supporters every single week. They're playing in the biggest league, these players, every week. The only thing that would change the direction of people's performance is their mindset.
Yeah.
And that is the reality of going into a Champions League. Most of it is the psychological approach because you're not playing against a great side. You're playing against a great side in your mind because of what they were previously. You're playing in a great stadium. You play in great stadiums every week. You play in the Theatre of Dreams. You play in all these big stadiums. So your psychological approach was the key component towards it. And Eddie Howe's gone over there and got a 0-0 draw. Thank you very much. Job done. First point in the Champions League. Next time round, when they play AC Milan at St James's Park, whole different set of rules.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, there's so many positives, Jim. I mean, it's a game that really doesn't... The performance does become secondary. He's right.
Well, Simon's right, though. Job done, because getting out of there with a point was something else. Milan had 25 shots in the game, Newcastle 6. Newcastle 1 shot on target.
And
it came in the last minute. One thing I wanted to ask you, Danny, though, a lot was made at the beginning of it, and I kind of fell into the trap that, wonderful. Jacob Murphy. Look at him standing there. Can't believe he's in the San Siro. You know, as they went along the line with the mascot standing in front of them, beaming out like the Champions League music being played. What a moment for him, the kid who's got to the San Siro. Was too much made of that. Because he's almost starry-eyed, like, it's about to kick off, Jacob. I hope you get your mind in the game. Do you know what I mean?
Do you know the way I looked at it? He looked relaxed and happy. And he actually was one of the better
He was
performers.
taking it all in, enjoying every single moment of it. That's what it should be about.
I actually thought
nobody asked you.
this may sound unusual coming from me, but it actually warmed my heart because I
the
thought
cockles of your heart.
It did.
God, am I in the right studio this
because
morning?
do you know what
It's
I
a bit
thought?
nauseating now, isn't it?
How good is that? Someone who actually is desperately, he's delighted to be there. He's smiling. He's just happy.
I get that, but you don't want to be thankful
But
to
it
be
didn't
there.
affect his performance. He was at it. Murphy was good.
Okay, fair enough.
He was one of the better ones.
Fair enough. One question being asked all the time at the moment. The players who are selected, can Tonali and Bruno get it together in the one team?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. They don't play the same position. Tonali's a super talent. Very difficult evening for him. I was watching his performance, going back to the team. I can only think back to the first time I went back to Liverpool. The first time when I'd left. It was the most horrendous experience ever.
Yeah.
Awful. Everything, the emotion got the better of me. And he I wouldn't say got the better of him, but he looked a little bit inhibited.
Yes.
But he's a super talent. He can play in various positions. He's a good athlete, good feet. No, them two can definitely play together, yeah.
Okay. So Newcastle get out there and as Simon says, job done.
Jim White and Simon Jordan. Monday to Friday mornings from 10 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.